hadn't expected to be back in London so soon. It had been years since I'd left, and I'd promised myself that I wouldn't return until I was settled. Living the life I'd fought so hard to build, but life, as always, had other plans. Isla was pregnant, and we thought it would be a good idea for me to return to my roots. Take a break from the chaos and reconnect with old friends and family. But I never expected to run into Charlotte. I was standing in the corner of the Valentine's Day event at a posh hotel, the kind where the chandeliers seemed too grand for anyone to ever truly feel at ease. I was holding a glass of champagne Isla beside me, her belly round with our first child. When I saw her, my heart skipped a beat. Charlotte. She stood at the far end of the room, as if time had reversed itself. Her dark hair flowed over her shoulders, and her lips curled into that familiar smile I used to love. But what hit me most were her eyes, those eyes that still held the same pull, the same sadness they'd had when we last spoke. "Is that ... Charlotte?" Isla whispered, nudging my arm. I swallowed hard, barely able to nod. I hadn't seen her in years. "I'll be right back," I said to Isla, already stepping away before she could ask any more questions. I had to talk to her, didn't I? Or at least, that's what I told myself. I made my way across the crowded room. Every step felt heavier. Charlotte noticed me before I could even say her name. "Nathaniel," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. She took a step closer, as though magnetized by my presence. My chest tightened. "Charlotte, it's been a long time." "Too long," she replied, a faint smile breaking through her usual stoic expression. "You look good." I could hear the unspoken words in her voice, the ones that begged for me to notice her. I glanced at Isla, standing at the bar, talking to some friends. My stomach twisted. I shouldn't be standing here with Charlotte, not now, not with Isla, so close. But I couldn't stop myself. "Yeah, things are good," I said, keeping my tone neutral. There was a long pause, a moment where both of us said nothing, but felt everything. Charlotte broke the silence. "I never really got over you, Nathaniel," she said, her voice raw. "I thought I had, but when I heard you were back in town, I knew I had to see you. I felt my pulse quicken. My body, despite everything, still remembered the way we'd once fit together so perfectly. But that was years ago. Things were different now. I was different now." "I'm married, Charlotte," I said, my voice steady, though my hands trembled. "I have a family now." Her face fell, and for a split second, I saw the woman I had loved. The vulnerability was raw, honest, but it wasn't enough to pull me back in. "I know," she whispered, "but I still love you, Nathaniel." Never stopped. It hit me harder than I expected. The weight of it, the emotions, it stirred feelings I'd buried for so long. The memory of her hand in mine, the late nights, the promises we had made, but Isla was the one standing in my future, not Charlotte, and that was where my loyalty had to lie. "I can't," I said, more firmly this time. "I can't go back to that, Charlotte. I've moved on. I'm happy with Isla." She took a step back, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Is that really what you want?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Are you happy, Nathaniel? Truly?" I wanted to tell her that I was truly, madly, deeply happy with Isla, but something inside me wavered. I didn't trust myself anymore, not when Charlotte's words lingered in the air like a toxic perfume. "Don't do this," I said, my voice softening. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Charlotte wiped her eyes quickly, trying to regain her composure. "I just... ... I thought we'd have more time. I thought there would be more... ... "I'm sorry," I cut in, my voice thick with regret. "You need to let go, Charlotte. I've moved on." She didn't say anything for a long time, just stood there, her expression unreadable. Eventually, she nodded and turned, walking away from me. I watched her go, my chest tight. When I returned to Isla, her smile faded slightly, and she asked, "Everything okay?" I hesitated. I wanted to say yes, to reassure her, but I couldn't lie, not when I still felt the sting of Charlotte's words. But in the end, I just nodded. "Yeah, everything's fine," I said, my voice quieter than I intended. But I wasn't fine. My heart felt heavy, weighed down with the baggage of my past. I wasn't sure if I was doing the right thing, but I had made my choice. Now, all I could do was live with it. The Valentine's Day celebrations in Manchester felt nothing like what I imagined they would. The bustling streets, filled with couples wrapped in each other's arms, only made the distance between Isla and me feel even more glaring. I was supposed to be celebrating with her, but all I could think about was the encounter with Charlotte, the woman I had once thought I would spend forever with. Isla had wanted to take a walk through the city center, so we did. It wasn't like I didn't love High Did more than anything. But today, my mind kept drifting back to Charlotte. I tried to push it away, but the thought of her never truly left me. "Are you okay?" Isla asked as we stopped outside a cafe, the cold air making her cheeks rosy. She didn't look at me the way Charlotte had, with those desperate eyes full of things unsaid. I lied, forcing a smile. "Just a little distracted, I guess." She nodded but didn't press further. Isla always had this gentle way of letting me have my space without pushing too much. Odd. But I knew she could tell something was off. We had barely finished our coffee when I saw her. Charlotte. She was standing at the end of the street. Her eyes locked on me the moment I stepped outside the cafe. I knew this confrontation was inevitable, but I had hoped it wouldn't come so soon. Not here. Not with Isla beside me. But fate had a way of tossing us right back into the past, whether we liked it or not. "Is that ... Charlotte?" Isla asked, voice low. "Yeah," I said, my throat dry. I didn't want to deal with this. Not today. But Charlotte had seen me, and it was clear she wasn't going to let me walk away. "I'll be right back," I said to Isla, my voice tense. I didn't wait for her to respond. I just needed a moment to talk to Charlotte. She wasn't a part of my life anymore, and I needed to remind myself of that. But seeing her again so close felt like a punch to the gut. As I approached Charlotte, I tried to steady my breathing. She was standing near a streetlight, her arms crossed as though waiting for me to make the first move. Her presence hit me like a wave, pulling me back into a time I thought I'd left behind. "You didn't have to find me," I said, keeping my voice steady. Her eyes softened when she saw me. "I didn't want to, Nathaniel, but I had to. I've been trying to move on, but it's been so hard." "I don't know why you'd think we could pick up where we left off," I said, the words sounding harsher than I intended. "I'm married now, Charlotte. I have a life with Isla, a family." "I know," she whispered, looking down at her hands, then back up at me. "I saw your ring. And I know about Isla. But Nathaniel, I've never stopped loving you. Not for a single second." My stomach churned. I wasn't prepared for this. I never thought she'd say it so plainly, not after all these years. "Charlotte, we were toxic," I said, voice cracking slightly. "You know that. You knew that. And yet you're still here, trying to make me feel something I don't anymore." She took a step forward, the desperation in her eyes palpable. "I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to be the one who walked away. But you left, and I was ... lost without you." I felt the familiar tug of guilt. She had always been good at making me feel responsible for things I hadn't done. And in that moment, I could almost hear the whispers of my past self. The one who had been madly in love with her, the one who thought they could make it work. But then I thought about Isla, about the baby we were expecting. This was my life now. Charlotte wasn't a part of it. "Sorry," I said, the words weighing heavily on my chest. "But I can't go back. I can't leave Isla for something that's long over." Charlotte's eyes glistened, and for a moment, I saw the person I had once loved so fiercely. But then, as quickly as it came, the look faded, replaced by something more like acceptance. "I should have known," she said, shaking her head. "You're right. It's too late." "Sorry," I repeated, the guilt gnawing at me. "But I've moved on. I've found a new path, and I'm happy with Isla. I can't do this. Not now." Charlotte stepped back, and for a moment we just stood there in silence, the sounds of the city swirling around us like an indifference to what had just transpired. "You're sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Yeah," I said. "I'm sure." And with that, she turned, walking away. I didn't watch her leave. I couldn't. Instead, I stood there, feeling a strange mix of relief and regret. When I walked back to Isla, she was still waiting by the cafe, but she looked up as soon as she saw me. There was something in her gaze, a quiet understanding that I hadn't told her everything. "Is everything okay?" she asked, her voice calm but sharp with curiosity. I paused, taking a breath before I answered. "Yeah," I said, my voice softer now. "Everything's fine." I couldn't help but feel like I was lying, though. and as we walked away hand in hand, I realized that no matter how much I tried to bury the past, it would always find a way to resurface. But now I had made my choice, and I had to live with it. It's funny how time works. 1 minute, you're on top of the world, everything in place, and the next, the past comes back to haunt you. I didn't want it to happen, but Charlotte's words were still echoing in my head. That night in Manchester, after walking away from her for the last time, I thought I'd put everything behind me. But the truth was, the past never really leaves. It lingers in the corners of your mind, hidden behind closed doors, until someone opens it back up. As I sat on the edge of the bed, Isla beside me, her hand resting on her growing belly, I couldn't help but feel torn. I had everything I ever wanted, and yet there was this shadow lingering in my thoughts. Charlotte, her face, her voice, it felt like she was right there with me. "Are you okay?" Isla's voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I turned to her, smiling despite the heavy weight on my chest. "Just thinking about things, you know? Work, the baby, all of it." She smiled softly, her eyes filled with trust. I didn't know the real depth of my inner turmoil. She didn't know the pull Charlotte still had on me, how easy it would be to fall back into the lie that I could fix things with her. I had been with Isla for so long now, and she had been nothing but supportive. I owed her everything. But then there was Charlotte, the one I never truly let go of, even though I had tried so hard to move on. Isla stood up, stretching her arms. "Well, we're in this together now. I can't wait to meet the little one." I nodded, but my heart wasn't fully in it. I had to be honest with myself. I wasn't the same person I was when I had been with Charlotte. The man I was now, the man who was going to be a father, wasn't the same person who had left her behind. I excused myself for a moment and went into the kitchen to grab a drink. But the moment I was alone, I reached for my phone, the temptation too strong to resist. I opened my messages, scrolling through old conversations, pictures, and memories I had hidden away, and then I saw it. A new message from Charlotte. "Nathaniel, I know it's been years, but I need you to understand. I never stopped loving you. I don't know how to move forward without you in my life. You were always the one, the love of my life. Please, can we talk?" I stared at the screen for a long time, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Part of me wanted to ignore it, delete the message, and move on. But the other part, the part that was still tied to her, made me respond. "We've talked, Charlotte. There's nothing more to say. I'm with Isla now. We have a family. Please respect that." I hit send before I could second-guess myself. But my hands still shook as I stared at the screen, waiting for her response. It didn't take long for the message to come through. "I can't let you go, Nathaniel. You were the one. Please, just talk to me. I don't know how to let go of what we had." A sick feeling settled in my stomach. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep letting her pull me back into the past. But the truth was, part of me didn't want to let go either. I put the phone down and leaned against the counter, taking a deep breath. I had a life now, a family. Isla and our baby were everything I needed, everything I wanted. Yet my mind kept drifting back to those late nights with Charlotte, the way she made me feel alive, like I could do anything as long as she was by my side. I walked back into the living room, where Isla was sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine. She looked up at me, her smile warm and comforting, but I knew that something was wrong. "What's going on, Nathaniel?" she asked softly. "You're not yourself today." I shook my head, forcing a smile. "I'm fine, just thinking too much." She raised an eyebrow, not convinced. But she didn't press it, and for that, I was thankful. I didn't want her to know the truth. I didn't want her to know that Charlotte still had a hold on me, even though I had promised myself I was over her. I couldn't be that person anymore. I had made my choice. And Isla and the baby were my future now, but the damage had been done. Charlotte's words kept echoing in my head, and for the first time, I wasn't sure if I could completely close the door on my past. As I sat back down beside Isla, I tried to push the thoughts away. "We're good, Isla. Everything's going to be okay." But even as I said the words, I didn't believe them. I never thought I'd be back here meeting Charlotte in secret. Edinburgh, of all places. The cold air bit at my skin as I stood in front of the small cafe, watching the people walk by, unaware of the chaos inside my chest. I had promised myself I wouldn't let the past pull me back, but here I was. I couldn't even explain why I agreed to meet her, Nathaniel. Her voice cut through the noise of the street, soft but sharp, just like it used to be. She was standing by the door waiting for me, her coat wrapped tightly around her. I took a breath, stepping forward. Charlotte, this isn't a good idea. She didn't respond right away. Instead, she just looked at me, her gaze full of emotions I couldn't decipher. It was like everything else faded away and the past rushed forward, consuming me. I needed to see you, she said quietly, her eyes not leaving mine. I glanced around, checking to make sure no one was looking. The last thing I needed was someone seeing me with her, looking like a mess of unresolved emotions. You shouldn't have called me. I'm with Isla now, Charlotte. You know that. She stepped closer, her voice trembling slightly. I don't care about Isla, Nathaniel. I care about you. You left me. Do you know what that did to me? Do you know how much I've hurt since then? I opened my mouth to respond, but the words caught in my throat. She had always known how to manipulate me, how to make me feel guilty, like I was the one who was wrong for wanting more, for wanting to move on. You never understood, did you? She continued, her voice thick with emotion. You think you're so perfect with your perfect little life and your perfect little family? But it's all a lie, Nathaniel. You're running from me, from what we had. I shook my head, a mixture of frustration and anger bubbling inside me. I'm not running from you, Charlotte. I'm running from the mess we made. What we had was toxic. You know that. Her eyes flashed with anger, and she took a step forward, closing the distance between us. Toxic? You think what we had was toxic? You think Isla is the answer? You think you're so much better now that you've fixed everything? I didn't say that, I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. I ran a hand through my hair, trying to calm myself. I'm not better. I'm just trying to move on. So should you. She stepped back, her eyes welling up with tears. I can't, Nathaniel. I can't just let you go. You were everything to me. I still love you. I always will. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I wanted to feel angry. I should feel angry. But all I felt was guilt. Guilt for loving her once, for not being able to shake off the hold she still had on me, even though I had moved on. Charlotte, I started, my voice softer now. I'm sorry. I really am. But we can't do this. I can't keep coming back to you. I've made my choice. Isla and we're starting a family. I can't keep lying to her, to myself. She stared at me, her lips trembling as she fought to keep the tears at bay. So you're just going to walk away from everything we had? You're just going to throw it all away like it was nothing? I closed my eyes, the weight of her words pressing down on me. It wasn't nothing, but it wasn't right either. You and we were never meant to last. I've changed, Charlotte. Learned things about myself, about what I need. And I can't keep living in the past. She looked at me, her face a mixture of hurt and disbelief. For a moment, we just stood there, in silence. The city around us seemed to fade away, and all I could hear was the sound of my own heartbeat. I wish you could see it, she whispered, her voice breaking. I wish you could see that I'm the only one who truly understands you. Illa doesn't. She can't. The words hung in the air like a challenge, but I knew what I had to do. I couldn't let her drag me back into her world, a world where everything was always about her, always about what she wanted. I had to stand firm. I'm sorry, Charlotte, I said, my voice steady now. I really am. But I can't do this. I can't be with you. Not anymore. She didn't respond, just turned and walked away, her shoulders shaken as she disappeared into the crowd. I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had been. I didn't feel relief, not yet. Instead, I felt an emptiness I couldn't explain. I had made the right choice, I told myself. I had to, but still a part of me wondered if I would ever be able to fully let go. Turning back, I walked back to the cafe, my mind swirling with confusion. I knew I had made a choice, but the weight of it felt heavier than I had expected. Isla was waiting for me, her eyes full of warmth and trust. But as I sat down next to her, I couldn't shake the feeling that, despite everything, I had lost something. And no matter how much I tried to move on, I knew that piece of me would never truly be free of Charlotte. It had been a few days since the last time I saw Charlotte, and I thought I could finally breathe again. God. But the unease was still there, a constant pressure in my chest that I couldn't shake off. I had convinced myself that everything would go back to normal, but I knew deep down that nothing would ever be the same. Isla had started to notice, too. I tried to push the nagging feeling away as Isla and I walked through the streets of Bristol, the sounds of the city mixing with my racing thoughts. She was excited, talking about our plans for the baby, about how we were going to turn our flat into a home. But I wasn't really listening. I could feel her eyes on me, though. I could always tell when she was concerned. Her voice dropped, just enough for me to hear the suspicion creeping into her words. "You've been distant lately," she said, her voice gentle but probing. "Is something going on?" I knew it was coming. The questions, the doubts. Isla could always tell when something was off, and I had been hiding the truth for so long that I couldn't pretend anymore. I looked away, trying to find the right words. "Nothing's wrong, Isla. I'm just—" "No," she interrupted, her tone suddenly firmer. "It's not nothing. I can feel it. You've been distant. I can see it in your eyes." I stopped walking and turned to face her, my heart pounding in my chest. Her brow was furrowed, and there was a sadness in her eyes that made my stomach turn. I hated seeing that look on her face. She deserved so much more than this. "I'm sorry, Isla," I said quietly. "I've been dealing with some things." Her lips parted slightly as she took a step closer, her gaze searching mine. "What things, Nathaniel?" I swallowed hard, trying to steady myself. This wasn't how I wanted it to happen, but I had to come clean. She deserved the truth, even if it meant losing her. I've been meeting with Charlotte," I confessed, my voice barely above a whisper. For a moment there was nothing but silence. Isla stood still, her eyes wide with shock, her lips parted as if she couldn't quite process what I had just said. "You've been meeting her?" she repeated, her voice trembling with disbelief. I nodded, feeling the weight of my confession settle on my shoulders. "Yeah, I ran into her when I came back to London." And then she reached out, and "Why?" she interrupted, her voice rising in anger. "Nathaniel, why didn't you tell me? You've been hiding this from me for weeks, and I didn't want to hurt you," I said, my voice tight with regret. "I didn't want to bring her back into our lives. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. Sorry." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I felt like I was suffocating. I hated seeing her like this. Isla had always been my rock, my safe place, and now I was the one who had shattered it. "Do you still love her?" Isla asked, her voice barely audible. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. "No," I said quickly, too quickly. "I don't. I swear. I love you, Isla. I never stopped loving you." But even as I said the words, I knew they didn't feel as true as they should. I had betrayed her. I had let Charlotte back into my life, even though I knew it was wrong. Isla wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself, but the hurt was evident in every line of her face. "Then why didn't you tell me?" she asked, her voice shaking with emotion. "Why keep it a secret? Why make me feel like I'm crazy for noticing that something was wrong?" I felt the guilt gnawing at my insides. "I was scared," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't want to lose you. I didn't want to ruin what we have."
Ow.
"But you already have," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You already have, Nathaniel." I reached out for her, but she stepped back, her face filled with both pain and anger. "You need to prove to me that you're not just going to run back to her. You need to show me that I'm not just some second choice, that I matter to you, that our family matters." Her words hit me like a slap to the face, and I felt the weight of them deep in my bones. She was right. I hadn't been acting like a man who truly cared about his wife, about their future. I had let my past cloud my present, and now it was all falling apart. "I don't want to lose you, Isla," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I can't lose you." Isla shook her head slowly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Then prove it, Nathaniel. You have to prove it. I'm not going to keep living in a relationship where I'm constantly wondering if I'm enough." I opened my mouth to say something, but the words didn't come. What could I say? How could I fix this? I had already broken her trust, and I wasn't sure if I could ever earn it back. "I'll do whatever it takes," I said finally, my voice filled with desperation. "I'll prove it to you. I'll prove to you that you're the only one. But please, don't leave me." She didn't respond immediately, just stood there, looking at me with so much sadness in her eyes. I need time, Nathaniel. I need time to think about this. I don't know if I can just forget what you've done. The words stung, but I knew I deserved them. I had failed her, and now I had to face the consequences of my actions. I'll give you all the time you need, I said quietly, but I'll be here when you're ready. Isla nodded, her eyes red, and then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there in the middle of the street. I watched her disappear into the distance, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't know what to do next. I needed to be alone, away from everything, away from Isla, away from Charlotte, away from all the mess I had created. That's why I found myself in London, standing by the river, staring at the ripples as they broke the surface, just like the fragments of my life. Every movement, every second, felt like a reminder of everything I had been avoiding. I hadn't told Isla I was leaving for a few days. I needed space, needed to breathe, needed to think. I'd broken her trust, and now it was time to figure out what kind of man I really was. Was I someone who could step up, take responsibility for his actions, and fix what he'd ruined? Or was I destined to be the same lost, confused person I'd always been? I had spent the last few days walking the streets of London, not really seeing anything, just thinking, replaying every moment, every word exchanged with Charlotte, with Isla. I couldn't escape it. The guilt, the fear, the self-loathing. Charlotte had wormed her way back into my head, her words echoing in the silence. You were the love of my life. You always will be. But it wasn't that simple, was it? It wasn't about love anymore. It wasn't about who I had loved or who loved me. It was about what I had built. Isla, our future. I had to make a choice. My past or my future. I sat down on a bench near the river, watching the traffic move in the distance, feeling the weight of everything that had happened.
Ow.
My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Isla. Where are you? Are you okay? The message was simple, but it carried so much weight. I could feel her worry in every word, and it broke me. She didn't deserve this. She didn't deserve my mistakes, my indecision. I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the keyboard. What could I say? What could I say that would make any of this better? I had already lied, had already hidden things from her. How could I ever make it right? I decided to call her, even though I wasn't sure if I was ready to face her, to tell her the truth. But maybe that's what I needed to do. Maybe this was the test. The moment where I could prove to myself that I wasn't the same person who had been torn between two women. I hit the call button and waited. The phone rang twice before Isla picked up Nathaniel. Her voice was shaky, worried. It twisted the knife in my chest. Where are you? What's going on? I'm in London, I said, my voice hoarse. I needed to think. I didn't mean to worry you. Think? About what? About us. She paused. Nathaniel, I'm scared. What's happening? Why did you leave? I took a deep breath, the weight of everything pressing down on me. I've been thinking about everything, Isla, about what I've done, about how I've hurt you, and I need you to understand something. Understand what? She asked softly. That you're leaving me? That you've been meeting Charlotte? No, I said quickly. I'm not leaving you, Isla. I've been meeting Charlotte, but it's over. It's always been over. I've been lying to myself, thinking that I could hold on to something that was never real. Her silence on the other end of the line felt deafening. I knew she was processing what I'd said, trying to figure out if I was telling the truth or just trying to cover my tracks. I've hurt you, Isla, I continued. I've let my past control me, and I've kept things from you. I don't deserve your trust, but I want to try, want to do better for you, for our baby. You don't think I know that? She said, her voice barely above a whisper. I know you love me, Nathaniel, but you're hurting me. You're breaking me, and I don't know if I can keep doing this. I closed my eyes, the pain in her voice cutting through me like a blade. I knew I had messed up. I knew I had pushed her to the edge, but I couldn't lose her, not like this. Not when we were supposed to build a life together. I don't know how to fix this, Isla, I admitted, my voice breaking. But I'm here, and I'll fight for you. For us. She was quiet for a long time. I could hear her breathing on the other end, slow and steady, like she was weighing everything I'd said. Finally, she spoke again. You need to prove it, Nathaniel, she said, her voice firm now, like she had made up her mind. You need to prove to me that you're worth trusting, that you're worth fighting for. I will, I said without hesitation. I'll do whatever it takes. I don't want to lose you, Isla. Not again. I'll prove it. I could almost hear the tears in her voice when she spoke again. I want to believe you. Really do. I'll make it right, I said, determination filling my chest. I swear, Isla. The line went quiet again, but this time I felt like there was hope. Like there was a way forward, even if it was going to be hard. I had to choose who I was going to be, who I wanted to be. I ended the call and sat there for a moment, staring at the phone in my hand. I had a lot of work to do. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was finally ready to face it. I had made mistakes, but I wasn't going to let those mistakes define me. I wasn't going to let the ghosts of my past hold me back anymore. It was time to change. For me, for Isla, for our future. It was time to face the truth. I stood outside our flat in Bristol, staring at the door, feeling the weight of everything I had been carrying. I had been walking around in a fog for weeks now, unsure of my own feelings, trapped between the past and the future. But today, I knew what I had to do. I had to be honest with Isla. No more lies. No more hiding behind the mistakes I had made. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. Isla opened the door a moment later, her face lighting up when she saw me, but there was still that flicker of uncertainty in her eyes, something that hadn't been there before. I knew it was because of me, because of what I had done. Hey, she said softly, her voice unsure. I didn't expect you back so soon. I smiled, though it didn't feel right. I needed to talk to you. I've been thinking about everything, and I can't keep pretending that nothing's wrong. Isla's face hardened slightly, but she stepped aside, letting me in. What's going on, Nathaniel? I stood in the middle of the room, struggling to find the words. I wanted to tell her everything, to unload all the guilt, all the secrets I had been hiding. I wanted to prove to her that I could be the man she deserved, the man I once thought I was. I've made a lot of mistakes, I began, my voice thick with emotion. I've hurt you, and I can't change that. But I need you to know that I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding behind my past. I want to build a life with you, Isla. She looked at me for a long moment, her eyes searching mine. And Charlotte. I winced, the name still sharp on my tongue. Charlotte, ... She's part of my past. A past I thought I could ignore. But I can't. I can't keep pretending she doesn't exist. But I can tell you this. I don't want her. Not anymore. You're the one I want. You're the one I'm choosing. Isla's gaze softened, though there was still a hint of doubt in her eyes. Then why didn't you tell me the truth sooner? I was scared, I admitted, stepping closer. I was scared that if I told you, you would leave. I was scared of losing you, and I was scared of facing the truth myself. She crossed her arms, her expression guarded. So, what now? You expect me to just forgive you? To trust you again? I shook my head, feeling the weight of my actions. No, I don't expect you to forgive me right away, but I need you to know that I'm serious about this. I'm serious about us. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to prove it to you. For a moment, there was silence. I could hear the distant hum of the city outside, the sound of life going on, unaffected by the storm inside this room. And then, just when I thought she was going to say something that would shatter me, her face softened. She stepped closer, her eyes searching mine. I don't know if I can just forget what happened, she said quietly. But I can't keep living in the past either. My heart skipped a beat. Was she saying what I thought she was saying? I'm not asking you to forget, I said, my voice earnest. But I want to work through this. I want us to move forward together. Isla sighed, rubbing her eyes. This is so hard, Nathaniel. I want to believe you. I really do, but you've hurt me. I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again. I stepped closer, reaching out to touch her arm gently. I know I've messed up, Isla, but I promise you, I'm not running anymore. I'm here. I'm staying. Shh. Just as I thought she might say something more, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I hesitated before pulling it out. It was a message from Charlotte. Nathaniel, I can't stop thinking about you. Please meet me, just one last time. I need closure for both of us. My heart skipped, and I felt a pang of guilt twist inside me. I hadn't expected Charlotte to reach out again. She had been quiet for so long. But now here it was, another temptation, another pull from my past. Isla saw me looking at my phone and immediately stiffened. Is that from her? I nodded. my stomach churning. She wants to meet, to talk. Isla's eyes hardened, her voice cold. And what are you going to do about it? I felt the familiar tug in my chest, the part of me that still cared for Charlotte, the part that wanted to say yes, just for closure. Die. But then I looked at Isla, her face full of hurt and confusion, and I knew what I had to do. I turned off my phone and looked at her. I'm not meeting her. I'm done with that. Done with the past. I'm here, Isla. I'm choosing you. Choose our future. The silence that followed felt heavy, but then Isla took a deep breath, letting it out slowly. Can't keep running from the truth, Nathaniel. You have to prove you're really ready to move on. You have to show me that I'm the one you really want. I will, I said, my voice steady. I swear it. I'm ready to build a life with you. I've already made my decision. Isla looked at me for a long moment, searching my face for any sign that I was lying, that I was still torn. And then, after what felt like an eternity, she nodded slowly. All right, she said, her voice quieter now. Then prove it. I felt a surge of relief rush through me. I had made the right choice. The only choice. Thank you, I whispered. And for the first time in a long time, I truly believed that I was on the right path. I thought I had made peace with everything. I had finally chosen Isla, finally committed to leaving the past behind. But something in me couldn't shake the feeling that Charlotte wouldn't let me go that easily. I had expected her to retreat, to quietly accept that I had moved on. But instead, I found myself watching as the fallout from my decision began to unfold. It started with a message from James, my old friend who had worked with Charlotte for years. I'd always been a bit of a wild card, but now his words seemed more serious, more urgent. Nathaniel, you need to hear this. Charlotte's been playing games with more than just you. People are starting to talk, and it's all coming back on her. You should know. I couldn't ignore it. The guilt was still there, lingering in the back of my mind, telling me I hadn't completely closed the door. But this wasn't about me anymore. This was about Charlotte and the mess she had created for herself. I texted back, "What do you mean? What's going on?" The reply came a few minutes later. "She's been manipulating everyone. It's not just you. She's played with the people in her life like pawns. You should have seen it coming." The message stung. I had always known that Charlotte had a way of getting under people's skin, of making them do what she wanted, but I'd never imagined the extent of it. And now, as I watched Isla move around the apartment, preparing dinner with that calm, quiet joy she always brought, I couldn't help but feel a sick sense of satisfaction. Charlotte was about to pay for her lies. The first sign of her unraveling came when I got another message, this time from Olivia, her best friend. It was late one evening when I finally opened it. "Nathaniel, I don't know how to say this, but you need to know. Charlotte's been telling people all these stories about you, about what happened between you two. She's been using you as a scapegoat for her own mistakes. I know you probably won't care, but I wanted you to hear it from me." I stared at the screen, trying to process what she was saying. Charlotte had always been the center of her own universe, and I realized then that she never cared about the fallout as long as she got what she wanted. Isla, of course, had no idea. She didn't know what Charlotte had done, how far her manipulation had stretched, and I wasn't sure if it was my place to tell her. I didn't want to bring that drama into our home, not when we were starting to build something real. But at the same time, I couldn't just pretend like nothing was happening. The next morning, I found myself outside of Charlotte's apartment, feeling strangely compelled to see her one last time. It's not for me, but for the sake of knowing that I was finally making the right choice. I knocked on the door, and when she answered, her expression was a mixture of surprise and something darker, something I couldn't place. "Nathaniel," she said, her voice flat. "What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," I said, stepping inside without waiting for her permission. "You're not going to get away with this. You've hurt a lot of people, Charlotte, people who trusted you." She closed the door behind me, her eyes narrowing. "I didn't hurt anyone. You're just angry because I won't let you walk away from us that easily. You can't just choose Isla and pretend I don't exist." I shook my head. "No, Charlotte, you're the one who's been pretending. You've been using me, using everyone, and it's not going to work anymore. I'm not part of your game anymore. I chose Isla, and I'm staying with her." Her face shifted from anger to something else. I couldn't tell if it was desperation or fear. She didn't respond immediately, but I could see the cracks starting to show, the facade she'd spent years building crumbling in front of me. "You think it's that simple, don't you?" she asked bitterly. You think you can just walk away, but you're wrong. You'll come back to me. You always do." I stared at her, feeling the cold anger rise within me. Not this time. I'm done. And with that, I turned and walked out of the apartment, leaving her standing in the doorway. For a moment, I thought I could hear her calling after me, but I didn't look back. I had made my choice. As I walked back to our flat, I felt something shift inside me. For the first time, I wasn't second-guessing myself. I wasn't holding on to the past. I was looking forward to the future. My future with Isla. But then, as if on cue, the consequences of Charlotte's actions came rushing back. The next day, I saw a post on social media from one of Charlotte's acquaintances, someone I didn't even know, and it was full of accusations. Lies about our relationship, about how I had betrayed Charlotte. It didn't take long for it to spread. It felt like the world was watching, waiting for Charlotte to make her next move. I knew then that the fallout wasn't over. Charlotte wasn't going to let me go without making sure everyone knew her version of the story. But what she didn't realize was that I had already made my decision. She could say whatever she wanted, but I wasn't her pawn anymore. I showed Isla the post that night, her face hardening as she read through the lies Charlotte had spread. "You don't have to worry about this anymore," I said, my voice steady. "I'm here. I'm with you." Isla didn't say anything at first, just set the phone down and looked at me. "This is going to get messy, Nathaniel." "I know," I said, "but it's worth it. I'm ready for whatever comes next." In that moment, I knew one thing for sure. Charlotte's world was crumbling, but mine was just beginning. And no matter how many lies she told or how many people she tried to turn against me, I wasn't going back. I had made my choice, and nothing was going to change that. The nursery was ready. Well, mostly. It still felt surreal, standing there with Isla, arranging the last bits of furniture, putting up soft pastel decorations. There was something about it that hit me all at once. The responsibility, the joy, the overwhelming sense of change. This was it. This was my future. I turned to Isla, who was carefully folding a small blanket and placing it into the crib. The sight of her, so calm, so focused, filled me with a kind of peace I had never known before. It was hard to believe that just a few months ago, I had been on the brink of losing her lost in a mess of my own making. But here we were, about to bring a new life into the world. Isla looked up at me, her soft smile meeting my gaze. "You're quiet today," she said, her voice filled with warmth. I shrugged, feeling the weight of everything that had happened, the pain, the mistakes, and the slow journey toward redemption. "Just thinking," I replied, "about how far we've come." She raised an eyebrow. "You're not still beating yourself up, are you?" I smiled, shaking my head. "I don't think I'll ever stop thinking about it, but I'm not beating myself up anymore. I've learned from it. I've changed." Isla set the blanket down and walked over to me, resting her hand gently on my arm. "I know you have," she said. "I've seen it. I can feel it." I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the truth of her words settle in. I wasn't the same person I had been when I first met her, when I let my past control me. I had made so many mistakes, but each one had been a lesson. And with Isla by my side, I was ready for whatever came next. For the future, for our child. My heart full of gratitude and love. "I'm ready, Isla, for everything. I'm ready to be the man you deserve. The father our child deserves." She smiled, leaning in to kiss me. "We're in this together, Nathaniel. Always." We stood there for a few moments, just holding each other, letting the world outside fade away. The past didn't matter anymore. All that mattered was the future we were building, one step at a time. The sound of my phone vibrating on the counter broke the moment. I sighed, pulling away from Isla and checking the message. It was from James, my old friend, the one who had always kept me grounded. "Nathaniel, just wanted to let you know. Charlotte's finally facing the consequences of her actions. She's been trying to pull strings behind the scenes, but the people she hurt aren't letting her get away with it. It's not your problem anymore, but I thought you should know." I read the message, feeling a mix of relief and something else I couldn't quite place. It was over. Charlotte had been left to deal with her own mess, and I no longer had to worry about being dragged back into her web of lies and manipulation. For the first time, I felt completely free. "Is everything okay?" Isla asked, her voice concerned. I nodded, slipping my phone back into my pocket. Yeah, just some stuff from the past, but it's done. It's over. She smiled, her eyes soft with understanding. Good. It's time for us to move on. That was the truth. The past no longer had a hold on me. Charlotte had done everything she could to pull me back into her chaos, but I had chosen to walk away. I had chosen Isla and the life we were going to build together. The next few months passed in a blur of preparation. Finished the nursery, went to doctor's appointments, and spent evenings talking about what our future would look like. I could feel the weight of everything we had been through, but each day I felt more confident in my decision. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was living. Truly living. The day Isla went into labor, I was a nervous wreck. I don't think I had ever felt so out of control in my life. But when our daughter was finally born, a little bundle of joy with Isla's eyes and my nose, everything clicked. In that moment, all the pain, all the mistakes, all the fears, they didn't matter. What mattered was the new life we had just brought into the world, our family. Isla looked at me with tears in her eyes, holding our daughter in her arms. We did it, she whispered. We did, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. We really did. As I stood there, looking at Isla and our baby, I realized something. The past had shaped me, but it no longer defined me. The man I was now, the man standing here with the woman I loved, the father of our child, was someone I could be proud of. I had faced my demons. I had made the hard choices, and now I was finally where I was meant to be. Charlotte's world had fallen apart, and I had no part in it anymore. She was no longer my responsibility, no longer a shadow hanging over my head. I had chosen a different path, and in doing so I had found peace. The future was ours. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it.